Hey, boys and girls. It's time for Uncle Jay Explains the News. Now here's the guy who helps little minds understand big news stories, Uncle Jay.
Hi, boys and girls. Now, before we start, the Oscars haven't happened yet when this is being done, so Uncle Jay can't explain them, which still may be true after they've been given out. And if it's anything like the Grammys were, most of them have already been given out. That little Oscar checklist you print out, most of the surprises are already there. You know, like movie trailers are now. Well, Uncle Jay's news word for this week is kind of a tough one. I hope you can handle it. Gaddafi. Now, as you can see, this guy is so evil that the mere mention of his name causes spell checkers to explode. This guy has ruled the country of Libya since 1969. The Beatles were still together when this guy took a... The Beatles were a very popular rock group in the 1960s. Anyway, this guy, Gaddafi, apparently didn't get the memo about how you're supposed to respond today to Middle East protests. Instead of caving and slinking away like all the other guys, he's going all Saddam on everybody, which is just rude. He is so evil that the United Nations Human Rights Council voted to throw Libya out. Well, no. They voted to suspend Libya. No, let me get this right. The Human Rights Council voted to recommend to the full UN that they consider suspending Libya not from the UN, but from the Human Rights Council, because Libya is a member of the UN Human Rights Council. You know, when you look at the list of all the members of the UN Human Rights Council, you can see that they have their standards and that they could be very embarrassed by this. They might even vote someday to consider being embarrassed. Should we go back to talking about the Beatles? The protests against this guy are, of course, part of a whole bunch of unrest that's happening all over the world, and that is the topic of this week's news question. Today we're hearing from Sean in Chicago. Hi, Sean. Sean writes, "Dear Uncle Jay, all the riots and stuff in the Mideast are showing up now in places in America. Do you think some governor or senator here will give in to the crowds and resign?" Thanks, Sean. Well, no, I don't, because in other countries they were complaining that they couldn't and didn't elect their leaders. But in America they were complaining because they could and did. In Wisconsin, for instance, the State House Democrats are angry about a new law that's about to pass, and they've gone into hiding. They've left the state. Now, the reason they've become so hard to find, boys and girls, is because in Wisconsin, nothing can become official unless enough lawmakers show up to cast a vote. You know, if all of America had that rule, most of our recent elections would never have counted. Harry Truman would still be president. Don't forget, you can see more and send your questions to UncleJayExplains.com. Check back every Monday when Uncle Jay explains the news. And remember, a great kid is great news.